Attention bowlers, we're going to do something slightly different today. We're going to be testing out a new video game known as PBA Pro Bowling 2026. The aim today is just to be sort of informal and kind of just show this game off. In particular, the reason I am interested in this is particularly the Candlepin bowling mode. So this is something the developers of the game have very generously included. Not to mention, there's also a duck pin mode, there's your usual 10-pin mode, and all that stuff, but it's really cool that they included a Candlepin mode this time around. And just kind of want to show it off and see where we go with things, really. That's kind of the idea. And maybe throw a couple strings, see if we run into any bugs or anything. Would like to stress that this is an alpha version of the game. It's a closed alpha, and that means, you know, your mileage is going to vary on literally everything. I would also like to very much highlight that I am running this on my PC, which is not the most powerful PC in the world. Particularly, I was talking with some of the folks that are programming the game, and they told me that my graphics card is just slightly above the tip of the system requirements. So don't judge the graphics. We will give that a free pass because that is likely just my computer not giving it the greatest kind of intro or impression per se, and there's not a whole lot I can really do about that. I set the graphics modes to be a little bit lower than they should be, mostly because of my computer, and I want the ability to have a decent frame rate over visuals, so we'll keep that in mind. So I skipped over this, but there is a venue selection, kind of like your alley, your house. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of these are all 10-pin oriented, so it's kind of tough to really say what kind of house is really the most Candlepin oriented one. I don't know if any of these are really decent choices, but we can pick whatever we think just looks cool. There's even kind of like a global mode, the Bowlerama Disco. Not Portsmouth Bowlerama, but just, you know, a Bowlerama. It's a kind of a generic term. I've played around with a few of these, and I'm not really sure which one I like the best. I think we'll try PBA Stadium. Why not? What the heck? There is a player select. I believe there was also a custom player select, but just for the sake of just getting into the gameplay, I'm just going to pick somebody here. I don't know. As a Candlepin bowler, I honestly don't know mostly any of these names. The only two I'm familiar with are EJ Tackett and Kyle Troop. I think we'll go with Mr. Tackett. Why not?
Hello and welcome to this Candlepin bowling match.
And it's talking to me. So that's interesting. I think it, I don't know if it realized that I picked a character.
Here's one of the best on
here
tour,
we go.
EJ Tackett.
Here's one of the best Candlepin bowlers, EJ Tackett. So the way this game is played is you play it largely with the sticks on a controller. It apparently is possible on a keyboard and mouse, but the thing about this game, they recommend highly that you use a controller for whatever reason. It's probably due to the analog movement of the sticks when you're doing the approach and releasing the ball. I am not the greatest at this, so I am also dealing with just my own skill issue in this game. So if you see any wild shots, trust me, I'm trying. So you use the left stick to kind of lateral left and right for your starting approach. And to sort of match my approach in real life, I'm going to start from the right corner and aim towards kind of the planks, the second from the right arrow. That's kind of like where I physically look when I bowl in Candlepin. And then here's the tricky part. When you go to release, it's kind of a flick of the right analog stick, which is interesting, I guess, because I'm used to some other mechanisms, like obviously in Wii Bowling, you hold a button and you do a physical swing. In Knock 'em Down Bowling for the Nintendo Switch, I believe it is all done via the triggers, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember. But this game does it a little differently. It's using the right analog stick to control how you do things. And in fact, if you hold it and not flick it back, you actually get this little interface right here. And you sort of have to time it. So it's you do the lineup yourself with a manual aim, and then you're in this section where we have the circle that kind of goes in and out, in and out. It's sort of like golf games. If you ever played golf for the original Nintendo, kind of a similar system in there, or Wii Golf too. Or one of the golf games, I forget which one has it, but it's a very similar thing for a game that normally requires a lot of aim and nuance in real life. They change it to be this little kind of like quick time event sort of thing. And there's also the triggers for acceleration and stuff. I don't remember if pressing it does anything here. No, it does not. The left and the right stick, or the left stick will allow me to, I guess, put some English on the ball. In Candlepin, again, I don't know if this really means much of anything in this mode. I've been playing around with it. It's kind of hard to explain what it exactly does. And I'm sure it's explained in better areas, but more study is needed on that on my part. So I'm still holding the right stick down. It's giving me the UI to kind of time it right. And let's release a ball. There we go. Apparently a perfect timing, great release, but off to the left of the head pin. EJ Tackett is not happy about that one. It's the half Worcester plus the 7. It's the 2. It's the 2, the 7 and the 8. Not a great way to start out EJ Tackett's Candlepin career. So we're going to line up our shot so we can observe, just like in real life. I guess we'll make this a bit of a real life Candlepin lesson as well. You can tell that when it seems to have a real strong bias of going kind of this way. You can tell in the quote-unquote breakpoint board, that's kind of a 10-pin thing, where it's going, but the ball kind of careened into the 2, the 7, and the 8. Oddly enough, I don't know if that's kind of an aiming thing or what, but let's try our second shot for the spare on the half Worcester plus the 7. Oh, not great. Overcorrection to the right. The 6 and the 10 go down. No spare there. So it's a leave of 4 on the right and 1 on the left, all in the middle of a cluster, 1, 3, 4, 5, 9. I'm trying to remember if there's any camera controls. That is one feature of knock 'em down bowling on the Switch. You can zoom the camera down to the pins at any point, and I think you do that with the right analog stick in that game, but in this game there is no such camera control. This is what you see is what you get. That is something it would be kind of cool, because I'm just used to, a pin cam literally in real life when streaming actual Candlepin matches. Or for those who just, can't quite really see the pins down there. In 10-pin, I'm sure it's maybe less of a problem with the kind of the fat pins, but in Candlepin, yeah, sleepers are tough to see. All right, so let's see if we can. So we've learned that aiming this way goes way too far to the left. Aiming this way kind of goes way too far to the, aiming right here kind of goes a little bit too far to the right, so I don't know. Let's split the difference, I guess, or just hope for the best. Let's throw. I'm not sure what the bad timing, great release bit is all about, but I don't know. It was not bad. It was at least a shot on the head pin. And that's largely accurate to Candlepin, I'd say. 5 and the 9 for an 8 box in the first. It is cool in some of these venues that you switch lanes after each box, which is cool. Not every venue does this. This is what the PBA Pro Arena, I believe. So that's a cool thing to see. I'm sure this kind of angle would be great for Candlepin. As far as I know, I'm not sure if there's any oil patterns or any kind of 10-pin-ish things in this mode. I would assume it's been removed, and from what I've seen in the behavior, playing some games before streaming, it seems to be the case, but hard to tell directly. But so let's see if we can throw another ball. Let's talk less and bowl more. Well, that was an interesting leave. I'm not sure if that's really one you would see in Candlepin, honestly, all that much. That was what, the 2, the 5, and the 6? Yeah, look at that go down. So I'm still evaluating the physics in this game. I am unsure if it's exactly... It's hard to say. Sometimes I've thrown some balls and I really think it is right on the money in terms of the physics, and other times, I don't know, something like that, just the way the balls collide and the way the pins impact. It's like something is just off, and it's hard to tell, not being the most knowledgeable physicist of my era. So anyways, it's the 1, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10 for a 10 box. And into the void it goes. That'll be an awkward 4-box for Team EJ Tackett, apparently. There's 4 of them standing down there. I'm going to focus less on the graphics, of course, like I said. Just more on the gameplay at this point. All right, so we're 12 after 2. Off to the right side Candlepin Corner. Do check out Candlepin Corner on YouTube for the Office of the Commissioner ACST podcast. All right, let's go from the right side this time. See if my analog stick skill gets any better. Onto the 7-pin and only the 7-pin. This is ACST Class G bowling right here. For the 10-box on the 4. I think it's kind of, I guess I could describe this game sort of as the physics maybe a little like a Wakefield Bowlodrome-ish. Like it would be a hard house if this was real life, to say the least. Wakefield Harvard, maybe. This certainly is not Millis. Maybe the game could have a Millis mode. That would be absolutely hysterical. That was off to the left of the head pin, but got a decent mix of 6, 1, 3, 6, 7. 6, 7. All right, so pocket shot on the 1-3 would be a good idea. In real life, I would opt for the outside of the head pin. You know, imagine the ball just going directly straight this way into the head pin. That would ricochet to the left of the 7. That's kind of a Class A shot over a Class B shot. Let's see, though, what we can do here. Totally whiffed it. So, is what it is there. On the head pin and only the head pin, the 3 and the 6 are left. My apologies, I have a script for the current time. So it's 10 a.m. local time, in case anyone's wondering what that is. It's the UNH Westminster chimes, followed by a recording I made of a old clock with the hourly chimes. So it's done in a second, I swear. Just bad timing on my part. I forgot to mute that. There we go. Should be all set now. All right. Next ball. On the head pin, 1-3 pocket, 5, 7, 10, 9. That's kind of a realistic shot right there. That one, I will give that credit. That's a good one. Look at that. I did put in the feedback of in Candlepin we don't have a reset gate coming down. That's just kind of a cosmetic thing, but it's one of those, like, if you were coding it for 10 pin and left that in there, that's actually not true to life accurate. Okay, that shot, the way the wood skated there, I don't know if that's entirely accurate in most cases, but we'll let it go. For the 10 box, I missed. Some of this is, evaluating the physics, also just my own skill issues with the controller itself. Just trying to hope to see if we can get some actual decent strikes and spares to actually evaluate how it works. There was one issue I had the other day, and by the other day I mean yesterday, where I threw a strike. The 5-pin wiggled and fell last, but the game didn't acknowledge that. What it did was it showed, the whole animation slow motion thing. And the 5-pin fell during the recap. And because of that, it went into second ball mode. But the pin was gone, and it had me shooting at just dead wood in an empty rack. So that was kind of odd. It was very... like, I don't know, it's an alpha, so that's kind of one of the things to watch out for. Because then when I threw the second ball, it was like, oh yeah, you got a spare, look at that replay. I'm like, cool, I shot it, nothing, thanks. And that's something I told them in their alpha Discord channel. I said, look, in Candlepin, it's a much slower game than 10-pin. You have pins fall very late. If you want to see an attestment to that, check out the Friday Night Pro League that I streamed this past Friday. It was... Hingham at Shooter's Sports Pub, and I believe it was Shooter's Sports Pub that threw a strike, and it was the 5-pin last. A pin rolled literally past the line at the end of the deck in the end zone, and then rolled back and took out the 5. And that's something we also saw at the Easter Classic, I believe, and that short is on Candlepin Bowling Network. So a lot of late falling pins can happen in Candlepin, and I'm not sure if necessarily this game is programmed for that. And it's also a thing where a pin could fall as late as before you throw your next ball, and that needs to be counted as well, particularly for fills. So that's a big kind of thing to watch out for. And what was the other thought I had about that? Oh, yes, and in the Candlepin rulebook, talking about rolling pins and pins that have completely finished moving, that's something I noticed in this game is not necessarily present just yet. There were times where like action was literally still going, and then it's already like shunting me to the next ball, and that's something that's something I again me and Mike are working on alerting them to that. I said there's just a couple extra nuances. It's always funny when I'm watching like actual PBA Tour things on TV, and I remember in the few times I bowled 10 pin, it's been a thing where I would throw a ball and I would see like Candlepin-esque physics where I would see the gate come down and it's already doing the pin reset, but I'm seeing a pin wiggling and falling, or like a pin rolling towards another and knocking another down, and I'm like, okay, so in 10-pin world, does this just not count? Like, late falling action just doesn't count after the gate comes down, completely out of my control, but still technically an action I performed, and I'm waiting for the kinetic results of all that? That's something that, whether it is or isn't in their rulebook for 10-pin, oh, there's a great spare right there. There we go. Now we got one. I was waiting for something half decent. Now, that replay cut off before the impact on the 1 and the 2, and it would be cool if it could be rewound just a little bit before that to kind of at least see, the best part of that shot, which is where the pins connect. So that's another thing. It's worth noting I'm sort of also narrating this so I can come back to this later and take notes, because I'm technically acting as an alpha tester for this game amongst some other folks, so I got to kind of report back also what's going on in terms of the game. So narrating some of the observations is just easier for me than just stopping and writing it down. Well, that was an interesting fill. That was the 4-7-10. In fact, let's look at that. How did the 10 go? It bounced off the way back. That's interesting. That is something... actually, and you know what? That's something I didn't even notice. That back wall is solid metal in the game. In Candlepin, that's kind of more like a flimsy, like sheet kind of thing. Well, kind of flimsy, kind of firm. But a pin is sort of rather unlikely to kind of hit that and come back and take a pin. I mean, I guess I wouldn't rule it out, but the way, the mechanics are back there, it's quite different. So that's something to think about. Yeah, you can't quite get a 7-10 that way. Or at least not in the same manner. That's kind of something. So why don't we take a look? Yep, I'm just bad at the game. That's just me misfiring. With the sticks. What controller even this is? This is an 8-bit Do Pro 2 controller. Kind of modeled after a bit of a mix of the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 style controller, but also with SNES, Super Nintendo style buttons. So... But yeah, again, the majority of the game is played with the right and left sticks. That's kind of how it's done. I have not dared to try the keyboard and mouse modes, mostly because the game tries really hard to discourage you from using that mode, despite it being possible, and I'm just figuring, I'll take the path of least resistance here. That's 3 more out. That's a 2-5-9. And a pin came fairly... Oh, another pin? Okay, that'll be something. Is it a 7-box? Let's find out if it's a 7-box. It is a 7-box. Okay. I just missed that myself. All right. EJ Tackett on a 52 after 7. 4-7. EJ Tackett will have a congress with the other EJ Tacketts in the background to talk about that shot. Talk about his position as the anchor bowler on Team Tackett. It's funny. I've seen some EJ Tackett matches in real life, and I remember I think he owns a 10-pin house somewhere, and or he's like a proprietor of some kind. And I remember he's he talks like a couple of bowlers I know, some Candlepin bowlers I know in real life. That's kind of interesting. Well, that's a rough box for Mr. Tackett, 55-8. All right, I'll try to speed this up a little bit. It's interesting it's talking about timing and release, because it seems I've been playing around with the velocity and the release and the angles of all this, and I don't know, it's hard to even tell what the barometer is of that. So why don't we fire from the right side? I swear I bowled a better game in this game yesterday than I did today. So this is, it's a bad demo due to my inability to shoot the pins so far. Center diamond in the 10. And it's funny. I don't think I've tried just a straight shot on the head pin today. Well, that works. That wasn't too bad. Diamond center breaks. As to whether or not that goes in real life, actually, that seems fairly accurate. The 5-pin was the question mark there, but it did fall into it. All right, maybe my problem is angles. Let's just try from the center. Which is not something I do in real life, because, well, just the way I bowl, I always tail off to the left, so I try to do a C-shaped pattern from a right side, firing this way, eyes on the arrows, and there is no foul line in this venue. That is interesting. The foul line should be in between, somewhere in between, like these arrows here and those mini arrows closer to EJ Tackett right there. It should be like the thin red line should be kind of in there. Not like it really matters. I don't know if it's even possible to lob in this game, but we'll see. The gutter shapes, that was something Joey Lister was talking about on Candlepin chat on Facebook. And he was saying or maybe it was Micah, one of the two. It was in the same thread. And they were talking about how it's 10-pin shaped gutters. So take that as you will. Gutter shapes kind of depend on your physical location in the Candlepin world. In Canada, they're flat. In Exeter, they're kind of mostly flat, but a little curved. In Lita, they were kind of deepish. At Lakeside, they're sort of also deepish. And really depends on the house you're in. All right. For the 10 box, and EJ Tackett's looking at a 70-something game. And that 8 box will make it 72, I believe. Yeah, 72, rough first game. Let's play again.
Hello and welcome to this Candlepin bowling match.
Hello and welcome to this Candlepin bowling match. I guess I'm playing as the other guy now. I don't remember him showing up anywhere, but hey, we'll see where we go. Well, this guy is doing a lot better. And so I'm not going to judge the visual appearance. That's more my graphics card. 8 gigs of video RAM, I guess, is apparently not enough in modern times. See also Digital Foundry's discussions on video cards with 8 gigs of RAM in the modern era. And yeah, I guess I'm just one of those people that happened to purchase a video card with 8 gigs of video RAM, because I guess it's better than an NVIDIA GTX 780, which is what I had before, and that card was more or less starting to physically melt. So this is kind of a replacement card in that right. I'm forgetting off the top of my head what card I have. What did I say in my feedback? Stand by. I have a Sapphire Pulse Radeon RX 7600 8 gig. That's the current card this is being evaluated off of. So that's generally the idea. Like I said, some of the folks were telling me that's just on the lower end of the system requirements. So this game will look better on better hardware. I will happily report in, though, this game is actually running off of Linux right now. This is not a Windows system. I'm running this. This is the Steam version of the game on the PC, running through the Proton compatibility layer on Steam, and that allows you to run Windows games, Windows apps on Linux, and it's gotten really good in the past couple of years. And that's really good for the game. They don't officially list Linux compatibility, but I guess I can unofficially tell you it runs pretty well in this. So, and to the point where I didn't even think of it when I launched the game. I just fired up the game. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to play a Steam game today. And sometimes it doesn't work on Linux, but this just ran. The only thing I had to install was a Visual C++ redistributable. And that's just fine. I'm sure on Windows you probably would have had to do the same thing. But it was just next, finish, and then fire the game up. Head pin is tapped to the right, and the 1 and the 4 are left. That was something. Okay, so that physics-wise, I feel like in real life it would have grazed the head pin more, or it would have more definitively taken out the 2-pin. That's kind of my thoughts on that. That almost seems like maybe a ball size issue, or I don't know. To be continued. I'm going to try to maybe throwing a lighter ball just to see if I can test. That was lighter-ish. And measuring this in millimeters with my thumb is difficult, but that was on the head pin on the 1-2 pocket. The ball skated way off into the sidewall. And you can tell how deep the gutters are there. I think that's a little more deep than they would be in Candlepin, like by at least 2 or 3 inches. That may impact some pin's ability to come in and out of play. Okay, so this is a situation right here. You can see on the breakpoint board, we have the pins, but we don't have the dead wood. And what's really hurting me right now is the inability to zoom down there. I know in real life, like, you wouldn't be able to zoom down there either unless you have literally a telescope in your pocket or binoculars or whatever, which would be really interesting to look look like to spectators. But it would be cool to kind of get a better view of what's going down there. So I can give you my evaluation of how I would shoot this shot in real life. I would try to go for the rightmost wood, I think, probably at an angle, maybe higher up. You could try to play this wood on the left as well, and maybe try to spin that piece of wood on the high side all the way back to the 10. Both shots are a little bit tough to execute, and we're going to see how I do it. We're going to see if I even hit this wood. Here we go. Yep, just like that. See that spin? That was what I was thinking I could have done to take the 10. And as to which one I was aiming for, I don't know. But look at that wood just spinning. So you can see there the wood was still kind of moving before the... Excuse me, sorry. Bit of a stuffy nose this morning. You can tell the wood wasn't quite done moving in that replay. And that was one feedback I said, you know, maybe before doing the replay, we should wait for all motion to stop to a reasonable degree. That would be something to think about. What I haven't triggered in this mode yet is if a pin rolls out of, you know, the reset gates area or range. That's what I'm trying to say. Because in real life, we'd have to remove that pin if it was beyond a threshold. Here, I don't know if that is even a thing. Micah was sending me some screenshots that he was running into where some pins were also kind of getting stuck in a 45-degree tilted standing angle. They weren't down, but they weren't up either. And I ran into that once, and I haven't seen it since, but Micah saw it, and I saw it at least once. Oh, this is the 710-4.5. Piece of wood. Oh, wow, yeah, piece of wood in that channel still rolling, but not a factor, but... That was odd. I want to see that again. 710. Was that another thing of the steel back wall? Yeah, the steel back wall. Okay, that's going to be something. All right, mental note about that. That steel back wall is causing pins to kind of go back and then back into play. And we don't... I haven't yet to ever see a Candlepin house where we have a back wall like that, so that is something to think about. Probably either replace, move it back, or remove that back wall, because... that is causing 710 shots that wouldn't go IRL. So, that is great to know. All right, well, that's a great 9-box, leaving the 5-pin, the king pin, down there on the lanes of, I don't know, whatever the heck this is, PBA Pro Arena. This kind of reminds me of that main alley, I think, where they had some qualifiers. I think the proportions are largely correct. Yeah, that looks about right in terms of the ball size and the pin size. Just my unofficial kind of observation there. All right, 7 drop on the head pin. Not on the head pin. 1-2-10. And just narrowly grazing the head pin on the 2. Mr. Unnamed NPC is not happy about that one. It's the high-low jack minus the 7. Head pin 10. And I think we've learned angles seem to be a little bit odd in this game. So let's just try direct down the center with no other English or whatever. Well, I got the head pin. Picked a stick. Probably the best I could have hoped for there. Leaving the 10 for a 9-box. We are at 42 after 5 at the half. You're watching the PBAST. Or the ACPBAST Tour 2026. with Knuckles, featuring Dante from Devil May Cry. I don't know. Oh, it's the 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. More or less. Is that a 7-pack? It's a 7-pack. 6-pack right in the 7. Check his ID. Don't drink and play PBA on Steam. Oh, on the headpin 1-3 pocket on the inside, leaving the 6 and the 10. Yeah, I bet you're really happy about that, buddy. EJ Tackett remains unimpressed as he walks through one of their teammates. All right, on the 6 and the 10. Bad timing, perfect release. Would have been a half Worcester shot, honestly. So that'll be an 8-box. I did inform them that frames in Candlepin are boxes. I said, if you want to be authentic, let's try to stick to the lingo of Candlepin and not conform to the weirdness that is 10-pin. The 4-pin is popped out. That is a lemon drop. Hey, Paul Grant. We can do these in this game. That's fine. On the right. All in the pocket. Good recovery. 6 and the 10 wiggle. Wakefield Bolodrome Harvard shot right there, I guess. Look at that. 1-2 pocket. The ball careened off to the left. Pins are slightly off their spots, which is fine. That happens in real life. That can be a thing. I'm just going to go for pins at this point. 6 taken out, 10 not taken out. Yeah, I've been there. I think I had a shot in Exeter on a Saturday morning where something like that happened. It was a spare I needed. I threw it, and I thought it was good. I threw the ball. I was like, oh, yeah, goodbye. And then one of the two were taken out. All right, so... Oh, there is a power slider. You know, sometimes there's just things on screen that are just there the whole time, and you don't notice them. So, I am not the strongest bowler of all time. I don't know, let's... Okay, talking about this meter, though. 75% with the meter being at the half is a choice. Okay, if the base is 75, the middle is 75, and 100 is full. Okay. All right, they did the math. The math was mathing there. I'll set it to 75. What the heck? That's done with the left bumper and right bumper, or L and R if you're a Nintendo controller person like I am. That kind of thing. Ready, fire, aim. I don't think I really aimed there, but the 4-pin was grazed. The 7-pin was hit. Alright, that ball looked like it was going for the head pin, but then tailed off. Wow, that was just missing it by planks. 4-pin wiggling. Oh, watch this. Okay, 4-pin is down right there. All right. Okay, we finally caught it. You saw the 4-pin. Took a really long time to fall. Not registered on the scoreboard. It wasn't a mark, so it didn't matter. But if it was a mark, I would be like, what the heck? That's a mark. All right. At least we caught that at least one time. It happened well after the replay, well after the ball change experience. Or sequence, not experience. Well, I guess it's an experience, but the sequence was finished, but the action was not completed. That's sort of the issue we're running into. Okay, headpin got tapped. It kind of behaved strangely there. That was really something, I don't know if that would have happened in real life. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, but I feel like the weight moved. Like, I'm trying to identify my thoughts when I say, like, the pins move in an oddly uncanny style. I don't know. And first ball, that's something I've seen in real life. Yep, missed the head pin, took out 7, leaving the isosceles triangle in the center, the 1, the 8, and the 9. It's interesting, the camera is not quite centered entirely on the pins there. It was off to the right and kind of missing like the 4 and the 7 from the shot. That's just interesting. All right, so I'm trying to remember... Maybe it's just the way I'm flicking the stick. I need to not be like direct, maybe a little off to the left slightly. Oh, a pin's gonna fall. That's why, actually. In fact, how did that even move? That was, oh no, the pin didn't fall. The 9 pin didn't fall. Okay, so you know what I'm wondering now? If that gate coming down actually comes down on deadwood and impacts the deadwood, if the pin is still too far forward, that's interesting. Okay, that might further validate when I was reporting back to headquarters there. When the gate comes down, well, it should never come down in Candlepin unless you're resetting the lane. But if it's coming down in between balls, if there's deadwood there, that's going to mess with the deadwood and could potentially cause it to roll into a pin, which may, not technically interference, but if it was going to move deadwood out of an area where you wanted it to be naturally, I would be kind of mad. It's sort of like, it's like how some of our automatic pin setters at some houses, Pro Score Plus in particular, used to sometimes erroneously count a 9-drop as a strike and then reset the lane if automatic reset was enabled, and that's like that was the most infuriating thing, because you could have gotten like a nice layup spare, but it gave you a strike, and because of that in the rule book, we'd have to redo the blocks or take the 9, and you don't want to do either of those things. So that's good to know. Some things to think about. I shall gather my thoughts on all of this after we conclude the stream. I'll probably do maybe a few more games before we call this good today. That shot was off to the left of the head pin. 6-drop, 1, 3, 8, 9, 10. For Mr. Nate Player Character of, I don't know, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I don't know where this guy's probably from. On the 8 pin, and only the 8 pin. 1, 3, 9, 10. 2 more out, 9, 10 left on the deck. Well, at least that largely hit its mark. So that's 81 after 10, beating EJ Tackett's 70-something. It's interesting. I thought I only selected this to be single player, and it's like kind of alternating maybe between 2 characters. So I don't know. Let's actually maybe back out to the title screen and maybe try again, and maybe switch the venue too to add some variety. That's interesting how it's like the physics feel a lot more fleshed out in the 10-pin mode there. Whether or not that's pre-rendered footage or not, that's just really interesting. But yeah, I see that metal plate in the back wall there, and that is a problem for Candlepin. Because we don't have those in Candlepin. We just have like a thin veil, like a kind of a curtain style thing. It's like a thick, firm curtain, but it's going to prevent pins from bouncing off of them and back into play like they would with a metal sheet, which would cause more bounce, like a formal sidewall. Yeah, like that right there. All right. So Candlepin, the thing about the difficulty, I'm not sure what this honestly means in this case. It's like bowling is bowling. Like, I don't know, what is pro difficulty? Because I am just curious at this point. I don't know, let's pick up National Bowling Stadium. Kind of, in the screenshot, kind of reminds me of almost like Fairlanes in Moncton, almost. I don't know, let's be Kyle Troop, because he's the other guy I know.
Hello and welcome to this Candlepin bowling match.
Kyle Troop, set to go. This guy has emerged as one of the best players on tour.
Kyle Troop, age 34. I wonder if that's currently age 34 or age 34 at the time of typing that in. He's basically my age. All right. Interesting of note, the other lanes are still 10-pin pins, for whatever that's worth. All right. Kyle Troop starting his Candlepin career 7-10-6. And that's a good offer, but an interesting leave. Split 6-7-10. Actually, it's cool. There's an ideal line in the breakpoint board. It says, fire from here to here. I don't know. I'll try. I can't really throw a shot like this in Candlepin. I don't curve the ball exactly this way, but we'll give it a try here. On the 10-pin. Bad timing, bad release, apparently. But, hey, you get what you get and you don't get upset. I think I flicked the stick to the left. It would be cool if there was like a motion control mode in this game. I know that's that's asking a heck of a lot, but that would be something. I'm going to pull the power down to... Let's pull the power way down, like say 58. Actually, that seems... So if you pull the power down, actually, I kind of like that. Well, it's a little like real-life Candlepin. Sometimes just taking the edge off of the release can do wonders for you. All right, that's the right side accordion, 5, 6, 9, 10. Yeah, I'm going to play on low power. Let's see what this... How much of an adjustment that makes. Great timing, great release, and gets stuffed by the cap. Two out of 4 down. Yep. That's realistic. Actually, that shot... I don't know, I'd argue I think that was actually right on the money in terms of physics. So it seems this power meter kind of converts to more of a realism meter, I guess, maybe in Candlepin. I'm going to keep it in the 50s. It is a little bit slower than an actual Candlepin release. 3 seconds down the lane is not usually the speed at which a lot of bowlers bowl at. So let's maybe pull it up to, say, 63. I can eyeball it in terms of the speed. That also was a bit slow. Less slow, but still a bit slow. Kyle Troop on the 610 pocket. Got an okay mix. 10-pin fell last. 1, 2, 7, 8. Kyle on the head pin. Oh, almost a spare. He got robbed of that one. 10-pin slid. That feels like a Millis shot. That seems like a Millis shot start to finish. If the pin slides off its spot just a little bit to the point where... Oh, man, that's... Yeah, I've been there. So I'm going to try to cheese this a bit. You can get a bit of a decent angle if you just hold the stick. To at least see... This is the thing about the gutters here.
Just lost it and into the gutter it went.
Yeah, I know. Like it's a hard shot or something. It's one of those things where, from a distance, it almost looked like the wood was still partially in. I know the channels are deep in this game, so that's something to be beholden. Alright, let's fire to the left. 2-pin grazed. That one, I don't know. That was a little sus. Maybe not. Actually, that angle made it a little bit more clear. Thought the 2-pin probably should have gone, but is what it is. Oh, into the same hole. Into the void. I can't tell if he's happy, sad, or having a stroke. I can't quite tell what's going on with Kyle Troop right there. Alright, let's see if we can finish off this mess and exit box 4 with dignity. The dignity ball. Well, 5 out of 10. It's the highest 5 out of 10 I could ever give. That was a shot. That was the half Worcester plus the 5 for the third ball. 1, 7, 10, 2, 6. Fire on this. Hip and shot. Banana split. Casey, I see you, bud. There we go. I know Micah got a spread eagle at least once, so we can confirm you can get a banana split on the first ball on the head pin.
There's the gutter ball.
One rule. You need to keep your balls out of the gutter.
Thanks. I totally didn't know that. There's one rule. I think there's multiple rules, Bob. Or whatever your name is.
No idea what happened there.
I'm not sure either. May have been a slip there.
Could have been a slip. I don't know. Maybe Kyle Troop is slipping. You never catch him slipping, except in Candlepin. All right. I think it's me. I think my thumb is going off to the left. That's a signal to me to start over here. Onto the head pin. Head pin grazed. Okay, that should have gone. I feel like it had more finesse on that than what really should have happened there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was robbed of that pin. That gate coming down still bugs me. That should not be a thing. So we have the 4 horsemen right, 1, 3, 6, 10. And he misses off to the left. All right. Four, 7. I've never seen someone more excited for a shot of
Into
4,
the
7.
moat. I was not expecting that.
That
That
right
was
there.
just way too risky.
Sure was. All right, let's try to angle it. Let's up the power. I will say, at least there is a bit of a psychological factor in Candlepin that is also happening here, and I guess that does make me very happy. It's like when you start missing consistently in the same way, and then you go, oh yeah, I got to change something here. Something has to give. That is happening here. I'm actually resorting to some of the same tactics I do bowling IRL when bowling weird. I'm like looking at the arrows. I'm like, I don't know, change where my eyes are going, change where my angle is going. How consistently am I missing? Like the John Winchell method.
You can't expect to win at this level doing that.
Second ball, 2-4. After the first ball, gutter ball for Kyle Troop. Trying to exit this box, and he'll get a 2 out of it. All right. I just want to get like 1 strike. That's really my only goal at this point. That is the bucket on the bucket of 5 on the right and the 7. Or the hay bale, depending on the regional variant names of that shot. Oh, there's a piece of rolling wood. Let's see if that rolls into the 3 and takes it out. I thought I heard something just clank just now, so let's see. Yeah, you see that rolling towards the 3, but it cut it off. No, it did not. Okay. There was a wayward sound effect, but, you know. Oh, down the center. All right, well, that's good to know. Pausing for 1 moment. Sorry, just IRL things. Pausing for station identification. You're watching 3 Ball Spare in an experimental stream. It is Candlepin related. It is PBA Pro Bowling 2026. Okay. Where's my mouse? Here's my mouse. Okay. Back to the action. All right, so last ball was from about this dot, angled this way into the center. Let's see if we can course correct this game that Kyle Troop is having. Well, I do enjoy symmetry. It's the 1 diamond, the 7, and the 10. A perfect release, and everything but the 10 goes down. The diamond is broken. I don't hate that shot. Kyle Troop finding his footing in this final box. And he'll make it a 9. That'll be, what, 66? 66. All right. Maybe we'll do one more before we call it a game. Make it a 5-game ACST style. We're on the tour on the PBA Candlepin Tour 2026. All right, we'll do one last one, and then I think we'll call it a day. Yeah, the game difficulty, I honestly don't know what the deal is with this. I guess it makes more sense if you're playing against some kind of opponent of some kind. This menu seems a little bugged because it seems I can pick the difficulty without picking a mode. And sometimes the cursor seems to get lost too, so that's something to think about. I don't know, let's be a league. And then there comes a point where the cursor just stops moving entirely, and then I have to start it all over by pressing B, so... Big bowler, Candlepin bowler. Actually... Oh, is that Joey Lister in the comments? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, the speed is something yeah. Because it's like the slow mode is too slow. It's like at least 3 seconds down the lane. And I'm like, yeah, no, regular ACST or league or any bowler. I've never seen a ball really go that slow in a normal fashion. But if you throw too fast, it's way too fast. It's like light speed. So it's like a hair trigger in terms of if you're too slow or too fast. Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah, that's something. And I think, yeah, and I remember I'm just trying to find a way to like express like, there's something just off and uncanny about the movements. And I don't want to just tell them that because that isn't like the most helpful thing to tell someone in terms of physics. But it's like, what is it can I put into words? And I think it's probably the speed. Let's go to the dive. That'll be a good one. I don't know, who the heck. I can't pick Josh Daly. I can't pick C-. I can't pick anybody I know. This guy seems cool. Matt Russo. Alright. Yeah, we're picking player 1.
Hello and welcome to this Candlepin bowling match.
Sure it's only a
now it's Matt
mode.
Russo, the left-hander with a smooth
This venue looks
game
pretty
and
cool.
major momentum. A multiple-time titleist, he's known for staying cool under pressure and making tough patterns look easy.
He kind of looks like Brian from regular car reviews, I'm not going to lie. Those reflections of the frickin' pin, the lane numbers on the wood here, that is just a little much. I'm looking at this, and I thought it was a bug at first. I'm like, no, that's a reflection. That's something. And they really need to, like, these particles in the air. I don't know what kind of HVAC system they have in this venue, but that's something. I feel like I got to sneeze just looking at this. If this were a 3DS game, I guess it would look cool, but with the 3D effect. All right. That's like the almost too fast kind of release. I feel like I don't have nearly as much control when I'm throwing that. That's the right side castle, the right side setback. The 5-6-10, that 6 really should have fallen. Oh my goodness. Oh, actually, there's an 8 drop. Okay, yeah, there's a shot where the pin fell very, very late. So that's something to consider for feedback. If that were a strike, probably would have lost the strike stat. So it's the 5 and the 10 now. Yeah, right-handed, left-handed, that kind of also does play a factor. What kind of factor in this game, I have no idea really, but we'll figure this out. So I guess it almost doesn't matter because like the animation it barely even shows their hands after they throw. So yeah, I don't know. It's very odd. Left-handed bowler, right-handed bowler, who knows if that matters in Candlepin. This Candlepin mode exactly. On the 5, a little bit too full. Leaves the 10 for a 9 box. Start this game out. Over on lane 7. Breakpoint board recommends a straight shot on the head pin, which is a great way to probably get a spread eagle. I was way off into the corner. Yeah, I am struggling mightily just with the timing system, honestly. And that's partially me. I'm getting better at it. I'm trying to line up that circle in between the other 2 circles, which is, you know, it's an acquired skill, I guess. Second ball almost goes into the spare posture, but okay, so this shot, this is the 5 and 6. There's wood there. It's not impossible. I'd probably maybe redline it. Depends if the ball tails or not, but yeah, this is something. I do know, so in terms of the accuracy and particularly the audio is 10-pin audio clearly, and they were admitting in their Discord's channel that they do know that the audio is wrong, and they said obviously they don't have any Candlepin alleys they can drive to where they are to record that audio, and that's when I kind of. I said I don't know if I don't have the greatest audio recording equipment myself, but I said it's like if you want to pull anything from my videos, I mean, feel free to. And I know Micah has some better equipment than I do for audio. So But yeah, it would be kind of nice if the audio did match what Candlepin pins sound like as opposed to 10-pin, because that is always a little bit off. I know on the Switch version of Knock 'em Down Bowling, it's the same idea. You just hear 10-pin audio with Candlepin, and it feels strange. It feels like a disconnect. It would be also cool, you know, since this is a video game, it doesn't have to exactly adhere to, like, you know, current standards, but it's like if they also had, like, perhaps maybe unlockable characters of, like, some of the older PBA pros, I guess. Obviously, it'd be cool if we had some of the Candlepin folks from the old Channel 5 and WNDS in here, but let's see, when I was a kid, who was like a big PBA pro? I think I remember this guy named Parker Bone, in particular in the 90s. I remember that was a name that just stuck out to me. It was a cool name. And he had kind of this cool sort of like low down approach and release at the time. So I don't know, it would be cool if they had that. That's the 1 and the 3 for 26 after 3. Yeah, that's actually not terrible, all things considered. That's the left side Candlepin Corner, brought to you by Jordan Britton and Corey Alisi of Candlepin Corner. Do check them out, featuring the From the Office of the Commissioner podcast on the Candlepin Corner YouTube and Facebook pages. I actually really like that podcast a lot. I don't know, it's kind of cool just to hear, just talk and shop about what's going on in the league, and I don't know, I'm liking it way more than I expected to. That's not a slight. It's just I'm not usually one to kind of sit down and watch podcasts unless it's like in the car or something. That might be a tip also. Put that podcast on like Apple Podcasts or like an audio form, RSS form, so I can chuck it into Overcast on my phone, so I can, because I primarily listen to podcasts in the car or when out walking. So video podcasts, yeah, I get, it's cool to have a video component, but audio is also fun. Yeah, Parker Bone the Third. That was that sounds familiar. I remember as a kid, it was like I loved watching bowling on TV, but Channel 5 was only on like 11 or 12 on weekends, and sometimes Skins was on Saturday, depending on what year it was on WNDS, and you had Stars and Strikes on at noon on Sunday, and it kind of either was on or it wasn't. But there was also like a 10-pin PBA on ESPN way back in the day, so it was any kind of bowling fix you could get pre-internet. All right, just about halfway through this game. I think we'll call this the last string, because I don't know, I feel like my skill in this game is diminishing as I continue on here. But I think I'm taking mostly enough data to kind of get an idea. And I might do more streams on this later. It's just time when time permits. So that's the 3 and the 6.
It's off into the gutter. It was let go of.
I like how the commentators are all over the gutter ball. Like, the second you get a gutter ball, it's like, it's going to happen sometimes. Candlepin, like, you got to throw a really, like, tough shot sometimes at a single, and it might be near a corner. And if you go into the gutter, hey, you tried. And 10-pin, I get it. The ball is a freaking, like, fifth of the width of the lane. Like, if you go into the gutter, like, what is going on? But in Candlepin, commentator-wise, they could let up on the gas a little bit. Alrighty. Oh, almost a lemon drop. Saved by the back steel, that back wall there. Yeah, I've seen this a bunch of times, and yeah, you see that back wall and how it came back and took the 10. That's happened multiple times to me just in this session. Earlier, I got a 7-10 based off of that, and that wouldn't happen in Candlepin. We don't have a hard metal freaking steel wall like 6 inches behind the pins. And since the Candlepins are long and narrow, it's going to bounce off that, and then if the physics system is actually routing the force back into the pins back forward, it's going to take another pin out. And I could be wrong, but do you remember the last time the back veil behind the deck actually helped you take any pins out? Like, I don't know. I can't remember any. But man, that's something. Yeah, it's off to the right again. there's bumper bowling modes in this game, actually. I don't think I saw any, but I wonder if that should be a difficulty setting. That would be a valid use of the difficulty option, other than just like novice, pro, and league bowler. Maybe I'll play with that offline. 139 for a 7 box for 47 and 6. That's another. I seem to be incapable of hitting the head pin now. That seems to be the word of the day. There's a pocket shot. Okay. I say that and then I hit the head pin, so. Yay improvement, leaving the 3 for the 10 box. I think I'm just going to graze it. Yes. 10 box. The crowd goes wild for that 10. There was someone in the background, I swear. For a second I looked really fast and thought it was Dave LaRoche. That's really funny. All right. Let's go for... Let's finish this out strong. And, well, a Candlepin corner. Another one. I feel like I've gotten so many of those in recent memory. Some pins wiggled. 5-pin wiggled. 2-pin was thinking about it. 2-pin is still thinking about it. Look at that. And that's something where I swear it didn't have that much momentum at the time of the impact and when the wood ran into it. So I'm wondering, like, is something bumping into it, like, off screen? That's very odd. Well, that's looking good. All right, that was weird. I felt that should have been a better shot than it ended up being. Let's look at the replay to confirm. 1-3 pocket, swept over. Okay, maybe the 2-pin didn't deserve to go down, but... All right, I'm just going to go for pins. Every pin. Every pin. 210. 8 box. Couldn't even get the triangle. It's weird. That piece of wood just kind of got stuffed on the 10. Maybe it should have had a little bit more weight to it. I wonder if the pins are weighted correctly in this game proportionally. 1-3 pocket. Yep, I've seen that shot before. Bucket left in the 10. Hay bale left in the 10. Oh, man. That's going to be a doozy of a shot. I think I made this yesterday in this game. Well, it was a valiant effort. Becomes a 7-10-4. See if we can get a 7-10 shot courtesy of that metal wall in the back. Bombs away, baby. On the 7, not so much this time. 4 in the 10. All right, one more box, and I think we'll close this stream out. Or we'll close this out today. We'll probably do more of this later. This is kind of fun. I kind of like doing this. Almost a strike. Looked like a strike on paper. 5-7-9. I know there's kind of like a... You can add spin on the ball, but I'm sort of like... Still trying to get the hang of just the whole release system in general. Let's see if I... Maybe I'll try for this last shot. I'll up the power. I'll hold this for a second. I'll hold the left stick left to light this thing up here. And then I'll try to do the timing mechanism. Perfect release. Hey, I got a different camera angle out of that. So I guess it must do something, because that camera angle was very different than the other one. Takes the 5, leaves the 7 and the 9. All right. How would I play this IRL? I would maybe go this way. Slight spin right. I don't know. Here goes nothing. Ugh. Well, that's actually about maybe a little more to the right where I would have tried to get some spin off the cap, but I just missed the cap. That was kind of a lakeside shot right there. Not gonna lie. All right, well, that's an 80. 81. And that's a... Well, that's an interesting 5-game total. I wasn't keeping track, but I don't think I ever cracked 100, so... That's fun. It's probably like a high 300 and low 400, something out of 5, so... I don't know. That is something. Well, anyways, I think that's probably going to wrap it up for today. Anyways, well, thanks for tuning into this impromptu stream, this Candlepin test of the PBA Pro Bowling 2026 Alpha. I might do a few more streams of this when I have some more free time than I currently do this morning. So we'll check that. I'll post this around and invite people to kind of also grade the physics or whatever based on what you see. If you see anything I didn't see, it would be helpful. I have a feedback channel open to the folks developing the game, it seems. So yeah, do let me know if you see anything. I'll scroll through the comments and kind of catch up. I was kind of occasionally looking over, but occasionally not. I'm sorry, I'm not that great at that. So, all right. So anyways, so thanks for watching another exciting experiment, a 3-ball spare experiment.